Ancient Egypt slash ancient Kemet has so many secrets that the average person just has no idea. They don't even know what the symbols, the deities, the whole culture is pointing us to. You see, let's take the example for example, the Egyptian scarab beetle. You know, these artifacts right here are jewelry, are amulets, and these are actually symbolic of the human brain. As you can see from the top point of view, it even shows the cracks of the brain, as well as if you look at the front of the structure, you can see the skeletal structure, the jawbone structure of the front of the mouth from the top view. Now, the scarab beetle has different meanings, not just this. Actually, if you see the wing scarab with feet, legs, arms holding up the sun, this has a completely different meaning. It actually has a meaning on the microcosmical level and the macrocosmical level. Now, on the external level, this is representative of the sun in Cancer. Why? Because the scarab beetle is representative of Cancer. Okay? And we'll get to that in a little bit. But also, it's representative of an enlightened mind, and the internal aspect of this symbol is representative of a mind that is open, that has its glands open and is aware to other things other than the lower levels of consciousness. Now, when I said that the scarab beetle is symbolic for the vernal equinox, or rather for the sun in Cancer, that is because during the age of Aries, during the time when the vernal equinox was in the sign of Aries, around 2000 BCE to 100 BCE, the summer solstice was in the sign of Cancer. Therefore, this was exoterically a symbolic representation of this energy and of this time where the sun would be in the summer solstice during this sign. Now, as well, we have art depicting, we have glyphs depicting the scarab beetle holding up the sun in between the eye of Horus, two eyes of Horus, or the eye of Horus and the eye of Ra. And this is clearly a symbol of the third eye. And the ancient Egyptians would use these signs on multiple levels. Now, of course, we also know Amun Ra, or Ra Mun, aka the Ram, aka Ra, the sun, in Amun, which is Aries, the ram. Okay? So this is symbolic of the sun in Aries during this time period. Now, we also see this in other aspects. For example, the age of Taurus, which was before the age of Aries. This is how we get Hathor. Okay, this is how we get the sun in Taurus. This is how we get Lord Shiva and Nandi from the Hindu religion. It's because, well, quite frankly, the sun was in the sign of Taurus, and they wanted to represent that time period with their artwork. So that's how we get Apis, you know, in the Egyptian lore. Because Apis is representative of the sun in Taurus. Okay? And even if you look at the age of Pisces, which we just left, Jesus was known as a fisherman. Jesus, the symbol for Jesus, is the fish. Why? Because during this age, the sun was in Pisces, and Jesus, exoterically, is a representation, a symbol, a metaphor for the sun. Okay? So, in many cultures, a lot of what they do exoterically is tracking the sun, tracking time, tracking the universe, because they didn't know if people from the future were going to be on the same calendar system, and we aren't. We're not on the same calendar system as them. Another famous symbol is Ra and Horus, two deities that are essentially the same deity, but one being an exoteric or an external version, one being an esoteric or internal version. Okay, let's take Ra. It is the sun god. Now, it's important to remember, yes, exoterically, a lot of what ancient Egyptian Kemetic lore is about is tracking the stars and tracking the sun and just inherently tracking time. That's a lot of what their stories are about. Okay, and if you look on the top of Ra, you have the sun. If you look at Horus and the eye of Horus, the eye of Horus is inherently the endocrinal system in your brain, or the internal bird. And even if you look at the hat that Horus wears, it is also that symbology. You can see the brainstem there, you can see the hypothalamus, you can see the pineal gland, all there on the hat that it wears. But internally, it's about something different. You see, you may know about the story of Osiris, okay? And in the trinity of Egyptian culture, we have Osiris, Horus, and Isis, aka the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, also known in Christianity. And of course, there's many trinities all over different religions. Of course, we have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva in Hindu culture, as well as others in many other cultures. But I want to focus on Osiris and his story. Notice that in this story, we have Horus, not Ra. Why? Because this is an internal trinity, not an external trinity. So the story of Osiris is that he is known as the god of the underworld. Why? Because he descends into the underworld when he is slain, when he is killed. Okay? He goes into the underworld and is died and is banished there. But eventually, he becomes resurrected through the help of Isis, and he becomes resurrected as his son. He becomes resurrected as Horus. And Horus goes back up to heaven, goes back up and rises up like the phoenix from the ashes, and he becomes the king of the world. Okay? And what is this talking about? Well, I think one of the best ways to look at this is just simply to look at Osiris himself and the hat that he wears. As you can see, it is a simplified version of Horus's hat, where it's only the pineal gland. And, as you can see, he has a snake. Now, there are many images of snakes being on the foreheads of people and deities in general. But there's a difference with Osiris, because his snake goes downwards. Now, what is this representative of? Well, if you haven't noticed already, it's representative of the Kundalini energy that we see in other traditions, specifically Ayurvedic traditions. But why would the snake be going down? Well, it's directly linked to Osiris and his story of dying and going down to the underworld, because he is representative of that sacred secretion. He is representative of the Kundalini energy going down the body, and he goes down, dies, and becomes resurrected as Horus, the Kundalini energy rising. Okay? This is why Horus is also representative of the sun, because the sun rises every day. Jesus is also the same thing for this. Jesus Christos literally means the anointed oil. Okay? Christos is anointed. Jesus is oil. Okay? Jesus Christos, the anointed oil. And what does Jesus Christos do? He becomes crucified and he dies, but he becomes resurrected. Okay? He dies and resurrects. Do you understand that this is the same story? And it's important to remember, crucified does not mean to be put on the cross. Not originally. Crucify was originally meant as to make more powerful, or rather, to magnify in power. So that is to say that this sacred secretion, this sacred oil, this anointing oil, becomes crucified more powerful and after that it resurrects. So it becomes crucified and resurrects. And that is exactly what happens within your body in the sacred secretion of your spinal fluid, your cerebral spinal fluid. Now, if we look at our spine, there's also 33 vertebrae. This is how we get the 33 ladders in Jacob's ladder, right? This is how we get the 33 degrees of Freemasonry. 33 is an important number, and it's also the number of vertebrae we have in our spine. Okay? And if you notice the fluid, or the tube that the cerebral spinal fluid goes up and down in, it goes directly to the endocrinal system. Okay? This is not something that's made up. This is something that is completely and entirely real. So essentially, this is just to show us that every religion in this world knows about this system, but even in ancient Egypt, they were pointing us to this truth of the internal power within, the sacred secretion within our bodies. Now, what is so sacred and what is so important about the endocrinal system, specifically the pineal gland? Well, it's because within your pineal gland, there houses piezoelectric crystals, which are inherently producers of electricity and producers of power. Okay? So, you might be wondering, well, doesn't our body already produce power and electricity in other ways? Yes. But this power is different because the energy that goes to it is that cerebral spinal fluid. And when that power is magnified or crucified, well, the power that it creates is much stronger. And in turn, things that happen within your brain, well, much stronger. Because the truth is, your brain is a transmitter and a receiver for vibrational frequencies, for thoughts that come in as those frequencies, as energy, essentially, as waveforms. And as such, not only are we able to have a better sense of receiving information, but as well we can project ourselves out in many different ways on a solar level, not just a personal, individual, flesh body type level, but an internal soul level. We can project ourselves and transmit our frequency to other people, into other worlds. This is where astral travel comes from. This is where intuition comes from. This is where many spiritual things come from. It is inherently because the endocrinal system. And the truth is that so much of what religion is one, externally tracking time in the sun, but internally showing us about ourselves and our body and the secrets within it and the secret powers and how we can become more whole and complete beings. And so it's important to recognize the internal power and the internal systems and really to know ourselves on a physical and metaphysical level. And if you feel like you're only scratching the surface, well, the truth is this video is only scratching the surface. And trust me, I can help you with your searching. I promise you that. Whatever information you want to know, whether that be through meditation, whether that be actual information and esoteric study, I can help you. Because I've recently decided that I want to be able to provide more for my community and provide more information, as well as provide more services for the development of yourself, whether that be through my guided meditations, my self-inquiry meditations, whether that be through one-on-one Zoom meetings, or whether that be through the community in our Discord channel that has just started. I want to provide a space where we can all grow and grow in our understanding of ourselves and our awareness. And so if you would like to join that community, please join my new Patreon that has just started. I promise you, there is so much value on there that is already being created and will be created. And it's honestly, if you don't think about joining it, you're probably missing out, because wow, the amount of information that I'm putting out there and that I have planned is honestly incredible. And the thing is, in these videos, I can only put out so much, but when my community is able to support me, I have more time and more free time to put towards those videos, and of course more passion, because I know that, you know, of course y'all really are looking forward to these videos, and I know that y'all are really looking for this information. I can help y'all all out on a personal level too, and y'all can help each other out in the community, and for me that's a beautiful thing. So I recommend you check out that Patreon, link down in the description. Regardless, y'all, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all so much. Shout out to y'all for sitting through this video, and I'll catch y'all later. One love.